What's up, everybody? If you've been following me for a while and you follow my story about the 10-year-old boy in Wisconsin who was charged with a felony aggravated assault because he was on the school playground during recess playing dodgeball, and he accidentally hit a white student in the head with the ball. Uh, the school, the white kid's mother, and the prosecutor of that uh, town decided to press charges against a 10-year-old for a regular game of dodgeball. But now I have an update for you all. I have a video, and they decided to drop the charges based on uh, black media's pressure, regular citizens' pressure on that prosecutor's office, and I'm really happy about that because they were trying to charge a 10-year-old boy with felony assault for playing a regular game of dodgeball, where the whole point of winning the game is to hit your opponent with the ball. Okay, so the prosecutor's name is Kym Worthy. This is Kym Worthy right here. And I was surprised to find out that in fact she was black, which is necessarily not a surprise when you live in a system of white supremacy. You find people in your own community turn against you and do things that are known to be done by white supremacists. I'm going to show you the news clip in a second, and when you watch it, I took some notes, and I want you to take note of a few things. Okay, so the boys were playing dodgeball during recess in April. This isn't new. Obviously, school probably over there in Wisconsin hasn't started yet. It starts probably in August, but in April, when they were still in school, that's when this situation happened. And Bryce is the black kid's name. So when I say the name Bryce, that's his name, okay? So during recess, Bryce and his classmates, which included the white kid, they didn't get a white kid name out or his mother's identification yet. We don't even know how they looked or anything. But let's keep going. So the entire class went out for recess. They started to play dodgeball. Bryce threw the ball, hit his white friend in the head, because in the news report you're going to hear that the reporter reported that Bryce and a white kid who was injured knew each other for a year and a half. They were friends. They were more than classmates because they had to at least go into grades together. They were friends for a year and a half. Then the reporter said something that was already known, but he acted like he was surprised, was that the white kid already had medical issues. When I reported my video, I told you all that. He already had medical issues. And another thing I want to bring up about that is, why would the white mother bring such a situation up and allow and want or seek criminal charges against this black student when it's actually the school who should be responsible and at fault for her son being injured? Because if he had previous medical issues, she brought that to the attention of the school, who's supposed to adhere to those issues and those demands to keep her son safe. The issue should have been with the school. She should have been filing charges against the school, the gym teacher or the principal or somebody in that school. She should have been trying to sue the school, but instead she's trying to sue this black family. Okay, another thing I want you to take notice during the news broadcast that I'm going to show you guys is that the news reporter said that the black kid's Bryce's mom found out last week, which is when I reported it when it was breaking news, found out last week that her son had to be in court tomorrow for something that happened in April. Now, as you know, if something happened in April and it should have been reported, the parents should have been notified that, hey, your son was responsible or involved in the injury of another student, or hey, ma'am, your son was injured by another student. I expect that to be done the same day that the situation happened. But it's so strange that it happened in April and all of a sudden it's the issue now. Why wasn't either parent notified back in April? And if the white parent, because the black parent wasn't notified until last week, if the white parent knew back in April that this situation happened, why now are we finding out? Why now is Bryce's mom finding out that her son had to be in court tomorrow? She found that out last week. That's kind of sketchy. And that's kind of weird. And that's an issue, especially when you're dealing with minors who do not have the ability or the legal uh, jurisdiction to represent themselves. It's their parents and lawyers who represent them. So we need to take mind of that they want to treat this 10-year-old boy as if he was an 18-year-old adult man and who could go to trial and court all by himself. All right. Uh, and in the video, they cut the black mother off. They cut Bryce's mother off when she was making a statement about her dissatisfaction with them even pursuing such a prosecution of felony charges against a 10-year-old boy. And when she began to mention that she lived in a predominantly white neighborhood, they ended the video, they edited right there, edited the rest of it out. But the point she was trying to make, and something that I think she should have considered before moving into that neighborhood, and she should have, even known, was the dangers of having a black child in a predominantly white neighborhood in the first place. Considering that black people are criminalized and stereotyped throughout this nation, and the rise of the racism and the terrorist attacks and just the brutality being placed on black people in this country since even before Donald Trump, I would have expected her to put her son in an environment where he was culturally safe, racially safe, and able and just comfortable to be around people, his peers, his genetic peers, to where he didn't have to be that one black kid, only black kid in the classroom. And she should have really thought about that. Not because she moved in that area. She can move wherever she wants. But when it comes time to pick a school for your kid so he can best succeed, or he or she can best succeed, I think it's best to put your kid in a racially diverse, if not predominantly race that your child is in, so that situations like this won't occur and the possibility of racism won't arise. And another thing I want you guys to pay attention to, as the video continues, because I'm going in order as you'll be watching, is when the lawyer is sitting with the 10-year-old boy, he mentions how the 10-year-old Bryce, he gets good grades, he never had serious discipline issues in the school, and that tells me, that goes back to every time a black man, an unarmed black man, is killed by police or just killed by any white supremacist in this country, we feel it necessary to try to convince other people how good they were based on he had a job, he had good grades, he graduated from college, when white families don't never have to discuss that. Basically, all they say is that someone unjustly killed my child and we want justice. But living in a system of racism, white supremacy in America, black people have to go that extra mile to prove to people that the murder of our children and the unfair prosecution of our children is not right because they're good in school, or they have a job, or they have no criminal record, that and that's sad that this lawyer even had to explain, even if Bryce did was a C or a D student, or even if he did get suspended one time for whatever, that still doesn't justify giving this 10-year-old child felony charges for playing dodgeball during recess and hitting someone, which is the point of the game, hitting someone who shouldn't have been out there in the first place. And that's very troubling to me, that you have to even go through all that communication and explaining this child 10-year-old background just to get sympathy and understanding from the community at large. And at the very end of the video, the reporter states that how the mom would transfer her son out of that school. And that goes back to what I said about her saying she lives in a predominantly white neighborhood. I don't know why the fuck in 2019 that any black parent would want their child going into a predominantly white grammar school or even high school. It's just toxic and poisonous, and those kids will be scarred with racism the entire time that they're there. They'll be scorned, they'll be mocked, they'll be made fun of, and they'll constantly be challenged. And so when they meet that challenge head on and they overcome that challenge through physical means if necessary, they'll be the ones who are labeled the criminal and the deviant instead of those who bullying him or her because of their race. So now the mother wants to transfer her son when she should have thought that in the first place. But I'm sorry, I just wanted to give you guys my notes. Here's the news video.
Well, now to more breaking news. A stunning reversal by Wayne County Prosecutor Kym Worthy. She had charged a 10-year-old boy with aggravated assault after he hit a fellow student in the head during a play game of dodgeball. Well, now, after public pressure, the charges have been dropped. But this may not be over. We were first to push this story on your phone. We want to go live now to 7 Action News reporter Jim Kurtzner, who's live in Southfield, where the mother and her attorney just discussed the case. Jim.
Yeah, Alicia, the mom and the attorney say it was because of media attention here in Metro Detroit. We were the first station to report this, and it turned into national pressure on Kym Worthy's office, a Wayne County prosecutor, and they're calling for that pressure to continue. Let me tell you the background on this case. It was back in April at an elementary school over in Canton where the kids were out on a recess on the playground playing a modified version of dodgeball. 10-year-old Bryce threw a ball. It hit another 10-year-old friend of his who he's known for a year and a half in the head. That second child did end up with a concussion. It turns out he had underlying health issues. Now, the mom found out just last week that her 10-year-old son was charged. She was devastated. He was set to be in court tomorrow.
I just couldn't believe that any person would think that that is okay to criminalize a child. We live in a predominantly white area.
Take a look at this baby that was supposed to appear tomorrow for a criminal proceeding, a pretrial conference on an aggravated assault charge. This is essentially a straight-A student who had never done anything wrong and was charged with a criminal offense.
Now, the stunning reversal on this case came out in this statement we got earlier this morning from the office of Kym Worthy. She is saying in this statement that I will never try our cases in the court of public opinion or outcry. Petition drives, protests, and other public so-called pressure certainly have a place in our democracy, but they should never impact what is done in a case and influence their decisions. But this attorney and this mom want people to continue to call that office because they say how many other kids may end up in the same boat with what they call a miscarriage of justice. They also are exploring their legal options, and this mom says she's going to enroll her son Bryce in a different school for this fall. Reporting live in Southfield, Jim Kurtzner, 7 Action News.
Yeah, high emotions for everybody involved in that case. Thank you for the update, Jim.
All right, so as you've seen the news clip and you saw everything that happened and what they reported, the mother, Bryce's mom, the black mother, who Bryce's mother, are going to continue their legal fight for justice and probably put out a lawsuit because not only was her son labeled a criminal on paper, but his face was spread around national news that he was being charged with felony charges and he's a minor. If the white mother has the ability and the right, and the white child has the ability and the right to not show their face or give their name out to the public, then a black family should do the same, should be able to do the same. If that's a 10-year-old boy, you shouldn't show his face to the media because that stigma will carry around with him for the rest of his life. And I would press charges. I agree with her 110%. I would press, not charges, but I would file a lawsuit by releasing my son's name, his image, his charges, and then all of a sudden having to drop it. And then the prosecutor says the reason she dropped the case was not because of public outcry or petitions or protests, because that's not how the system of democracy works. Well, I don't see any other reason why you would have dropped it, because the reason you even press charges against a 10-year-old boy is because there's something seriously wrong with you. And I hope that they go back into her prosecutorial history and to make sure that there has been no other children wrongfully prosecuted under this idiot Wayne County prosecutor, Kym Worthy. She needs to be called into question, and then when the next election cycle comes up, she needs to be put out of office. But like I promised you guys, I told you on every story that I do, if I say I'm going to give you guys an update and follow up through with it, I do. Please come back. Please stay tuned for more information. I have new projects coming up, and please subscribe, like, and share. You guys have a good day.